Beauties, good morning. It's Monday morning. Monday mornings with Beauty Throughout. Nisha here. I wanted to talk with you about remembering what you started. Remembering what you started. Some of you know that I had a beauty salon, and it was moving and shaking, I say, for about 10 years, the actual building. And so I had to switch it up and do a 9 to 5 as a primary, and do part-time as doing hair. So what ended up happening is I started working and collaborating, using my gifts with others in their salon. So actually, let's say, I don't want to say others with an S, it was one. So it was one other. I went in with another lady. She had other people in there, and there was one seat left, and I was able to grab that. And so I continued doing hair that way. Because I am creative, and I have a creative side. I like to be able to do things with my hands and create things from nothing. And so I needed to continue in that. And also there were clients that wanted to stay along with me. So I did that for a time. And in that time period, I felt unction to look back over some things that I have written, because I am a writer, and I write. I've always wrote. Like, I had diaries. Remember the diaries? Now they're journals. So I went from diaries to journals, and then I started getting a lot of information from Holyspirit, where it put me into a place where I started having like pieces of paper, writing things down, and in my car. So that's how the piece of paper started, because I had to, when it was hitting me, I had to get it down, or I would forget. At that time, my children were young. They were in sports. There was just a lot going on. And so, anyhow, I had to jot it down on whatever paper I had. It was on the back of other written stuff or whatever, but then I would transcribe it in like a notebook. So, or sometimes if it was sticky notes, I would just stick that note in the journal. So anywho, I was reminded that I had started that, and what God wanted me to do was start writing a book. And so that is where my journey writing a book began. It began I'm sorry, because people are merging over, so I needed to make sure I am good. The journey began after after I made an adjustment. Now, I want to tell you, I did not want to make the adjustment because the business that I started, I believed in it, and I didn't want to shut it down, but it was something that I understood had to. And so when I was in business, in the actual salon, a year after being in business, I started, there was just this push to start this program called Beauty 101. That's what I named it. And that's what the name of it is, Beauty 101. So when I shifted, went working for another salon owner, while doing a 9 to 5, I was still pushing, promoting, and doing work with my Beauty 101 program. And so my Beauty 101 program was for young ladies initially, because that's where my compassion was. That was the need I saw in my journeys of doing hair. Even before I got into business, I saw that. And it was my own personal journey and testimony also. And so I pushed on after I made an adjustment. I pushed on doing work, being a good steward for someone else, being honorable to someone who became a leader. I was still a leader, but I had someone that I had to submit to, in a place where I did it for so long. I had employees and everything. So anyway, moving on to where I want to get to. I had a tough time with that. I mourned my business. There was just a lot of emotions that went into it. Fast forward to pandemic. I went into a depression that I did not know I was going through. But let me tell you what else it was. It was menopause. Okay, it really was menopause, because I did not know where I was depressed for. I know that I was not moving and able to do. I was like not understanding what I needed to do at that time. What was my next move? I had all this time to figure out what the next move was to be for me, and I had nothing. And that was weird for me. I've always had some creative thing to do, to create, to push forward, to whatever it was. I had nothing. So that piece of nothing was absolutely menopause. The focus was not there. It was like I could try and try and try. Nothing was coming. Nothing was dropping. So I was depressed. Okay. I was like, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm just like nothing out here, just floating. I was just out here floating and nothing. There was nothing that I knew to do except for the regular get up, clean my body, brush my teeth, and sit back down and work the 9 to 5. There was nothing else that I knew to do any longer. Besides, I couldn't even create anything. So I thank God, because as what I know is consistency is key. I've talked about that numerous of times. After I prayed and just prayed and cried and prayed and cried, Lord, help me find direction. And I started seeking out some motivators. And so when we are trying to go to another level, or if we're trying to push forward, we have to encourage ourselves. We have to recognize first that we have this issue, this problem, this need for ourselves, and then we have to encourage ourselves and push with persistence to connect with those who may have our answer. And so while I was there in this stupor, God allowed the Holy Spirit to go back to remember some things that was already taught and told to me. And so that brought me to knowing that collaborating with another, growing where someone has already grown in the place that I need to grow, is what I needed to seek out. And so that's what I did, social media wise. So anyway, I found those who had my answer, had my push. While I was pushing, I needed someone to push me. I couldn't hear any kind of thing. I needed a specific word. I needed specific words. I needed a specific push. And so I found that. And consistency with that, the light bulb comes on, and God's favor just shows on that. And He did for me. And so I'm here now to say consistency is still the key. But now the reminder and the knowing of what God has told you to do before is something that you need to go back to. I no longer have the salon business, right? But I still have an arm of that business. I've transitioned, and I had talked about transitioning throughout being in the salon building, but in the way that I saw it, okay, the way that I saw it was this whole other picture, and I wanted somebody to be me in there. That's a whole nother story. But that's not the way that God saw it. And so we cannot get to something that is our victory. We cannot get to our victory or get to a place where we can feel full, can feel that we are in abundance until we go through a suffering or a lack or a place where we are not full of us, of ourselves. There is definitely a place where you will have to die to yourself, to your will, to your plans, when it's just you and not inclusive of God, like He's not in it. Just like the Israelites, like God was with them, but they were there, but they weren't with Him, in a way of they was trying to get out and go the other direction. They were trying to go the other direction. They wanted to go back to where they were. Okay? God reminds us of things. Going back is a remembrance. Like when we do our communion, the Lord, and it's instructed that God says, do this in remembrance of me. It is not for you to physically go back, because Jesus already took care of all of that has happened from dying on the cross. All of our future sins or current sins or the mess, all of that he took care of. The grave, sickness, disease, he took care of all of that. So when we are going back, we go back connecting our dreams, our thoughts, our plan to his, and let him work. Watch him work. All right, this was a long one, but I'm over and out. I gotta go into the office, and I will talk to you all tomorrow. Inside and Out is your beauty throughout. See ya.